Okay, so here we go again. So today I want to read you this pamphlet that got handed out. This is an Antifa flyer slash it's more of a pamphlet. It's quite a few pages here. So I'm going to read the whole thing to you. I know it's a lot, but I think you'll find it very interesting. So this is probably put out right before the No Kings protest. So anyway, if you don't know what Antifa is, these are the ones that are causing all the havoc. They're an offshoot group. They're radical leftist, you could say, but they're not Democrats. They are anti-government. They're anti-capitalism. They basically just want anarchy. They're the ones that are dressed all in black, typically. Well, for sure their faces are covered. They're wearing the gas masks, the helmets. They're the ones blowing up cars, fighting the police, causing destruction, vandalizing. Like, they're the ones that cause the chaos. And Antifa means anti-fascism. They claim to be against fascism. And the irony here is that the left, they're really the ones that they inhabit the qualities of fascism. And so the whole thing's backwards. It's all stupid and ironic, but scary nonetheless. So what they'll do is they'll use these Democrat protests and they'll piggyback off of them. So that's why these protests that are very well organized and ahead of time, they will start peaceful and then they'll end like what we see here, right? So they are very well organized and coordinated as well. They have, it's all just like underground communication, and they're not going to call themselves by name, but clearly when you hear this, you're going to know that this is what this is about. And I want you to listen also to the underlying nuances of this, because what they're doing is very extreme, but they're always looking for new recruits, so to speak. And so leftists that aren't so radical are still creating these signs at protests. They're still saying this verbiage, this language, these words. They're saying the same things. Trump's a dictator. Trump's Hitler. Trump supporters are all Nazis. He's a fascist. It's all the same language, so it's bleeding into, like, the radical left, their ideology is bleeding into those that aren't so radical necessarily. So it's seeping into all of the left. Okay, you ready? Here we go. It is fascism. Start acting like it. Yes, Trump probably has a master plan to use riots to justify a military occupation. And just like his master plan to use tariffs to bring back jobs is completely idiotic. They believe they can beat and intimidate us into submission, but this will backfire. If every city in America fought like the angels on the first nights of the LA uprising, the regime wouldn't stand a chance. Okay, so this was written after those first nights. And did you hear what I just said? Craziness. The decisive moment has arrived. Trump has deployed active duty Marines to Los Angeles and threatened to use, quote, equal or, quote, greater force across the country if people dare to resist his agenda. The Democratic Party, the courts, and all the existing institutions of government have failed. The law is now Trump's weapon, and the police, ICE, DHS, FBI, and the National Guard, the Marines, whatever, all of them are now his foot soldiers, because those are not things that we would use to protect the American people. Okay? This is fascism. You know it. Now is the time to start acting like it. The regime will not be swayed by empathy with peaceful protesters or opinion polls or the threat of a blue wave in the midterms. That is no longer the country we are in. So to be a peaceful protester is not going to do the trick. It won't do the job. We need more, right? When the law becomes the weapon of tyrants, what, law and order? We are all above the law. That is what it means to say the people are sovereign. Disruptive, courageous action is our only chance. The first days of the Los Angeles uprising showed us what effective action looks like. Not an army with guns, but everyday people collectively dismantling police equipment, preventing ICE and the cops from enforcing Trump's commands. I mean, don't you just see a plethora of this everywhere? This is what this is. In a democracy, you vote a president out. In fascism, you prevent the dictator's functionaries from carrying out his will. Crazy. A king is only a king when his wish is your command. When the people refuse to let his wishes come true, he becomes a clown. Now is the best chance we have to topple this regime. So dramatic. If we wait, they will consolidate control of education and the media, because you don't already do that on your own. See the hypocrisy? They will rewrite history and churn out a generation of loyalists. In the months and years to come, it will only get harder to fight for freedom, which is what you already have. A warning, we're being told that disruptive demonstrations are just, quote, playing into Trump's hands, end quote, by giving him a pretext for military dictatorship. The regime doesn't need a pretext. They will invent whatever reasons they want to justify what they are going to do. Quote, peacefully making our voices heard, end quote, will do nothing. You know this. With judges and politicians unable or unwilling, it is up to us to stop the fascist machine. The opening moves of the LA uprising shows how to stop it. Man, they love those opening nights of the LA uprising, and they call it an uprising, by the way. It began with people refusing to stand by during an ICE raid and surrounding ICE agents. It moved to burning their cars, throwing rocks and fireworks at the police. I'm not laughing because it's funny. This is not new. You remember the summer of 2020, the George Floyd rebellion opened with a police precinct burned, cop cars disabled, corporate stores looted across the country. It was only after weeks of riots that this memory was publicly erased and it was turned into a, quote, largely nonviolent movement, end quote. This was its defeat. We are in this mess now because we didn't dismantle the police state then. Fighting back is collective strategic intelligence. Tyrants are nothing without police to carry out their commands. Police are nothing without their tools, and guns are the least of them. It is their cars, stations, and the toys of tech fascist companies like Palantir, Flock, G4S, and others that create the illusion of their total power. We know from the summer of 2020 that masses of people can make quick, easy work of this illusion. We win not by appealing to the ruler's conscience, but by dismantling the machines and companies that enable their rule. Peaceful demonstrations, to be effective, need to be part of this overall disruptive movement. Refusing to condemn those who take risks on all of our behalf, hanging banners in support of them, and insisting that normal life cannot be continued until the regime falls. Did you hear that? So they need the less radical ones to have their protests and have them be silent about what they're doing. Media literally not covering this stuff. Governors and mayors and other lawmakers saying these are peaceful protests, peaceful and nonviolent, literally lying to your faces. They need that. They welcome it. It's a nice little buddy system for them. They will call it, quote, chaos. They will call it, quote, insurrection. They will use it to justify more force. And then they will lose because they cannot govern America by force alone. They require our cooperation, our obeying in advance, our submission to their unjust peace. When we withdraw it and become an obstacle to their power, they lose. If we fight, we will win. In a dictatorship, we are not, quote, citizens with, quote, rights. We are earthlings being threatened with extinction by a small group of psychopaths. We have a choice. We are either under Trump's rule or we are above all his laws. All acts of resistance to tyranny are acts of community self-defense. What is at stake now are the lives and freedom of those we love. It is time to act like it. That is their call to action. There are Craigslist ads out there offering to pay, and the descriptions are along the lines of, by any means necessary. Violence is not only allowed, but it's condoned, it's promoted. We need people that are willing to take heavy risks, action takers, that sort of language. There's a video out of this guy that did exactly that, who's getting paid $150 for the day. He doesn't care about any of this stuff. He doesn't care about politics, but he's like, $150, right? And maybe you've seen this, maybe you haven't, but like, it's so convenient that these protesters happen to be right by like a huge pile of bricks or concrete or some hammers, some tools. They just kind of appear next to them. So it appears like they're just using the environment, which I don't know how that would make it better, but their environment to cause their havoc. But this is organized, this is set up, people are getting paid, other countries are involved. Told you, this whole thing is bigger. The mainstream media is not talking about this, won't talk about it. They won't touch it with a 10-foot pole because they're part of all of this. They're like 95% left-leaning. They won't cover this. I'm gonna make a video every day at this point. Because we are in war. We are in a spiritual war. They are trying to throw our government. The amount of disrespect for the 250th anniversary, the birthday of our army this past weekend. This is a celebration of the people that actually do go into the line of fire, that do go into combat, that they do risk their lives. Many have lost their lives for our freedom, for this country as it is. And yes, upholding the Constitution. So, good always prevails, but we do have a fight on our hands. And I hope that you all are realizing this. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow.